However, here's what I will say about Top Gun Maverick. Because the whole time we were watching the movie, I was trying to keep this thought to myself. Usually what happens with these sort of sequels that come out 20, 30 years after the original, what the creative team will do in an effort to kind of prey on the collective nostalgia of everybody's brains is you'll basically rehash a lot of the same or similar story beats in a movie and pass it off as new, even though in our heads we realize that we've already seen this before. And here's what I will say about Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick does the exact same thing that other movies like The Force Awakens and like, I don't know, what's another like sequel movie that was like 20 years, 30 years in the making that was like, it's basically just the same thing. Because I'm trying to think of other ones.
Like Dumb and Dumber 2, like Mall Cop 2.
Yeah.
But these are comedies.
Yeah. But what Top Gun Maverick does differently, and why I think it is overall a way better movie than the first one, is it retreads these same story beats, but from a perspective that feels very genuine. Because, you know, they recreate the opening, which is like, I kind of knew going into it that they were going to recreate the opening, but like it almost has like beat for beat a lot of the same scenes, you know, Tom Cruise getting chewed out by an admiral or whatever, and then telling him that he's going to Top Gun anyway. You have the scene where the class is sitting there and you meet the dickhead. They have the scene in the beginning with the bar. There's a scene in the beginning of the first movie with a bar where you meet the characters, and it's like they have the training sequence, and they have the middle part where like there's the love interest, and then you have the end of the movie where they get to the real mission, and then and then it ends the same way that the first one did, where like Tom Cruise gets the girl and like has the happy ending, and he tries to go to the bar to meet her and see her at like an old familiar place again. However, I don't think any of that really bothered me, because like those scenes where Tom Cruise was in these situations, in these scenes that were similar to the first one, he was on the other side of it. Like in every scenario, like he wasn't the person in the middle of those situations anymore. He was like on the other side of the glass. So at the bar, he wasn't partying it up with anybody. He was the guy sitting at the bar watching everyone else have fun. Like during the class scene, he was the teacher up at the front. So like he could spot the cocky kid a mile away. And like during the training sequences, like he was out there, sure, but like he wasn't the focus of the training montages. He was the one that was giving the orders and doing these things, and I don't know. And as for
Creed,
that's
Creed
another
is
one.
another one of these where it's like,
yeah,
there's a lot of similarities, but like, like Rocky wasn't the one doing all this stuff. He was like training.
Right. So I think Creed and Maverick kind of fall in the same category of like 20 plus year reboot movies where they go through similar story beats, but they don't rehash the same thing just for the sake of nostalgia. It's like, obviously they know that people coming to see this movie all these years later want to see those moments. But like there were some moments that genuinely made me tear up throughout this movie. And obviously you have the added twist of Goose, or Rooster, Goose's son, being one of these, potential 6 characters from Top Gun that got to move on and do this deadly mission. You have that added layer. You have the added layer of like, Tom Cruise consulting with Iceman. But then there are other moments where like, I don't know, Tom Cruise is talking to Jennifer Connelly, who plays the new love interest in this movie, which I guess she's not a new love interest because, Penny was mentioned not even by name, but in the first one. There was a debriefing where Goose and Maverick are getting yelled at, and the admiral that's chewing them out is like, there was an instance where you took a plane with an admiral's daughter or something like that, and that was Jennifer Connelly in this movie. But there's a scene where like Tom Cruise is talking about how like, Meg Ryan, who is Rooster's mom, who at this point in the movie has already been dead. She was the one that like told Tom Cruise to like pull Rooster's papers. So like he essentially had to do another 4 years again in school, I think. And then Tom Cruise had this like really nice monologue about how like he was trying to be the dad that, Rooster never really had, and he was being really overprotective, and you have to, just let them free for a little bit, which again is like a total 180 from his character in the first movie, because he was that kid, that like fucked up and made a mistake. And it's good to see that he's still haunted by that, choice that he made in the first movie, or what he believes to be a choice that he made in the first movie. I don't know. That's character growth, man. That's character growth, baby. Also, watching Top Gun in the future is so rad because everything just looks so much better. Like the sound is so much better and the visuals are so much better and cooler. And like the actual action scenes are directed a lot more interestingly. Like I don't think there was a single training scene where they were discussing what was happening and I was bored. Whereas the first one, it seemed kind of like a lot of the same. Like anytime they would get in the planes and start trying to like shoot each other down, I would just get so bored. I'm like, okay, well, we've seen this already. But in this movie, for me at least, every time they got into a plane, it was like a different aspect of the mission that they had to try, and then it was cut between, character development moments that I really enjoyed. And then they throw in this ending twist where it doesn't just end with a dogfight. It ends with, Tom Cruise and Miles Teller basically having their own little, like, I think the Mission Impossible movies influenced Tom Cruise a lot more than, like, than he was influenced in when he made the first Top Gun, because there's a scene where like a helicopter starts shooting at him on the ground, and I'm like, this is just a Mission Impossible movie now, where they're like scoping out the enemy base, and like him and Miles Teller have to like steal an airplane, and for like a little bit it feels like a totally different movie, but like in a good way, because I was having fun. But yeah, I have things that I don't like about the movie too, but I feel like I've been talking for a little bit. So you jump in here.
All right. So, the reviews for this movie have been astronomical. Like we're talking 97s and 99%.
Yeah.
And people are like going apeshit for this movie.
They are.
And so we saw it. And those high praises, I think, were well deserved. I thought this movie was phenomenal. Like, not that it's as good. I think of it as like Terminator and Terminator 2, where the second one is astronomically better than the first one. But not to say that Maverick is as good as Terminator 2. But like, I have that sense of feeling towards it.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot better than the first one.
Well, because like we were kind of talking about it, like it takes all of these similar story beats, but it just does them better. And it's like I prefer this movie so much more to the first one. Like I would absolutely go and see this movie again. Like I honestly might. I might try to see it in IMAX because we just saw it in standard.
Like yeah, the first movie may have been impressive the way they shot it, but I'm sorry, every time they were in planes and like flying around, I couldn't tell what the hell was going on.
In the first one?
Yeah, just the way they shot it.
Yeah.
Because it was just planes flying around in the sky. I don't know who's who, because they all look the same.
Right.
And it's just these aerial shots. It's like, yeah, it's cool that they got it, but like I don't know what the hell's going on.
Right.
And then this movie, I definitely knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Because they mixed it really well with like interior shots and exterior shots, but further away, so you're not just close on the plane.
Right.
So that was really nice, and shit got intense. Like I wasn't sure what the point of like the opening was when he's going like Mach 10, maybe just to show like us how much of a lunatic Tom Cruise is.
Yeah, honestly.
But like that whole sequence was really like on the edge of your seat, and just the whole actual real mission by the end of it, when he of course shows up and he's like leading it.
Yeah.
The mission itself, which should have been doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
It's like, why they even try to make him teach it? Just, yeah, you go do this.
Right. Well, because like there comes a point in the movie where a couple of recruits almost die, because like Tom Cruise, the mission kind of requires the recruits to push past their limits, which is a very anime thing to do, and I'll get to another anime thing that this movie does in a second. But yeah, push past their limits, and like these are the best of the best, but like, you know, they're pushing like 10 Gs or like 9 Gs or whatever, like the force of gravity on their body is like far exceeding what they're used to, and these maneuvers they're going below what do they call it? Not the ceiling, below deck or whatever. They're going below deck like only 100 feet above the ground, which like, you know, 5,000 feet is usually like the level that you want to stay above during like training or whatever. So like the things that Tom Cruise is trying to get these recruits to do is like, they're really scary, like genuinely. And what I love about this movie compared to a lot of the other blockbusters that I've seen in the past, I don't know, however many years, like these characters, they aren't invincible. Like they're just regular people. So if they crash a plane at these velocities and stuff like that, they're dead. Like they are dead. So like even the smallest thing, like if one of your engines goes out and you're flying this thing at, you know, Mach 5 or whatever, like that's terrifying. But like in a movie like The Avengers, you know, like they're like, the plane's going down, you know, they're going to be okay. Cause you know, they're just going to jump out or whatever. They're going to have some cool landing. So yeah, there were some moments where like, you know, the recruits almost die. Like they pass out behind, you know, the wheel or whatever, and they have to recover and blah, blah, blah.
Like I couldn't believe they all survived, honestly.
I thought Maverick was going to die, honestly. And they kind of, the crew that made this movie and the director and the writers, and they do a really good job of subverting your expectations. Like first you think Miles Teller is going to die, and then Maverick saves him, and then his plane gets hit, and then he goes down, and then, you know, Miles Teller is like, they're being chased by more, they call them SAMs, something aerial missile, like, I don't know, just anti-aircraft missiles. And then it cuts to Tom Cruise waking up in this. Yeah, there are a couple of saves in here that happen that I'm like, you know, maybe the first time was like really cool, and then the second time someone gets saved, you're like, well, okay, we've already seen this before. But
I definitely could have done without the whole sequence where, you know, Miles goes down too, and then, you know, the helicopter's shooting at him, and then they got to steal the plane, which was incredibly easy.
Really easy.
It's like it could have been a little shorter, honestly.
Yeah, there were a couple of really convenient parts about this movie that happened, but I'll save that for a second.
Like, yeah, I could have just done without that entire sequence, because there was 2 planes like chasing everyone. I guess they only did it just to get them 2 away from everyone else.
Yeah,
because there was like planes following them, like when they were, you know, doing the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, just derails into this whole like, oh, we gotta steal this plane. We just run towards it, and then we're turning it on. No one notices, and they hop in and they just fly away, and it's like, oh, great.
Yeah, I think they threw that in there because they knew people wanted to see. Well, one, they wanted to see Miles Teller and Tom Cruise like in the same plane, which I don't know why they didn't do that in the first place when there were 4 planes for the mission and they only picked 6 candidates. When each plane can fit 2 people, like just get 8, whatever. So they finally get a plane where Miles Teller is in the back, like Goose was in the original movie, and they're you know, piloting a plane from the 80s. So it's a callback within the callback that is even making this movie, you know. So I get it. And then they get out of the plane, and then Miles Teller has a fucking like 1-to-1 recreation of the scene with, you know, Val Kilmer in the last movie, where like he was the dick the whole time and Maverick was the underdog, and Maverick, you know, he approaches Maverick and he's like, hey, good job out there. Exact same thing happens in this movie. I will say Hangman, the new like dick student, he does a really good job playing like an asshole. Really good job. But you know, it's to say that this movie emulates a couple of anime things, I think might be a little outlandish for me to say, but hear me out. First of all, they win using the power of friendship. That's how the day is won, is the power of friendship. 2, they literally do like a flashback sequence that they would do in like My Hero or like whatever to kind of catch the audience up on what happened to Goose, you know? And It almost reminded me of like One Piece too, because the old movie wasn't filmed in HD, and this movie, or not HD, but like, you know, they were filmed using different cameras. So like when the shots from the old movie pop up, it's like in One Piece when they try to show flashbacks from like older seasons when it wasn't full screen yet, and it just looked, they cropped the sides, you know, and it makes it look really weird. This movie does the exact same thing, but I don't know. They're also like, how do they pick the 6 people that they pick, other than the fact that they were the ones that had more screen time? Because like, not to offend anyone in the movie, but I don't think a single one of them were more qualified than the others to be on this mission, except for fucking Hangman, because Hangman was the only character that like seemed really confident about himself and like was, you know, doing the mission. Like, but there was no indication that out of these 12 students that Tom Cruise had to pick from, that the 6 that he ended up, or the 5 that he ended up going with, were any more qualified than the other, you know, 7 students or whatever. That's why I was like, I mean, I get it, because they're the ones that have the billing credits, and they're the ones who we've seen had the most screen time. But like, as of that moment where they go on the mission, it wasn't shown to us that a single one of those students was able to do what they needed to do for that mission. Like, they didn't show us that scene, which is probably one of the 800 hours or whatever of footage that they had to cut from the movie, or something like that. But
and I thought they handled Peggy.
Penny?
Penny.
Yeah.
That was really weird, because like we had to look up like who she was.
Yeah.
Because the movie did nothing. Like, yeah, who's gonna remember that one like line from the original movie? It's like, cause
not many people.
It's like when he shows up, he like, you know, just like when they first meet up, he's like, Penny. And he's like, it's like they're catching up, and it's like, are we supposed to know you two?
Yeah.
And she has like a daughter, and it's like,
I honestly, I can guarantee that was a role, like that part was written for the actress that played Charlie, but like she couldn't come back for whatever reason, so they just had to alter it.
Yeah,
very
but
slightly.
like, you gotta like throw. It's like the stupid panda thing with that
right.
movie. It's like, you can't just throw something in and with no explanation,
right?
You know, and expect everyone just to know, like, who, like, what's going on with these characters.
Yeah, I will say, there's a lot less Tom Cruise tongue in this movie. Thank fucking God.
It was like 0.
Yeah, there was like 0. So, like, even the romance part of it, I feel like was handled a lot better than the first one. So, in virtually every way, I would say that Top Gun Maverick is a superior movie to Top Gun.
It's not as funny as the original.
No, the first one, yeah, Goose was. He might be one of my favorite like 80s characters ever. Just like anytime he was on screen and talking, I was like, yeah, that's a fun character.
And
like,
Miles Teller looks frightening like that guy.
I think it's the mustache.
Similar. Yeah.
Oh God, I forgot to grow a mustache for this episode.
Whatever.
Fuck.
We forgot a lot of things for this episode.
Yeah. Well, we at least got to the review, and we got our Frosties, and we got all of these things. So,
yeah, Top Gun Maverick is a buy it.
Yeah,
I'm buying the Steelbook.
Definitely buy it. Like, it's not the perfect movie, but like, I still walked out of the theater being really happy that I saw it. And like I said, I teared up a couple of times. And like, there were a couple of edge of your seat moments that, you know, were worth the price of admission alone.
Yeah, this is like the best sequel since, I think, Creed.
Yeah,
honestly.
It's a really good sequel. So we'll just have to see how Thor: Love and Thunder holds up to Ragnarok, and that might beat Maverick for best sequel of the summer, but who knows? Until then, go out and see Top Gun Maverick, and I can take these off finally as we get ready to talk about our next